You're listening to the Talking TUF podcast, creating tough minds for fitness, nutrition, and business. With your hosts, Rob Foster and Josh Phelps.
And in today's episode, we are going to be hitting it back. First, we actually skipped a couple of weeks, so I'm sorry about that, but things got in the way, so we will talk about that. Baby fails, not that the baby's a fail, just fails to do with the baby, which is quite fun. The clocks have changed, and will you do the same? Will it change your mind? Do you have standards you must meet on a daily basis, or do you just tick along? And post-lockdown fog, this crazy, foggy, misty, woo, where are I, sort of, you know. It's been a crazy time, right? It's crazy.
People listening who don't know, if you haven't heard already.
If you don't know,
I don't think you really put much on social media, but you become a dad, so huge congratulations.
I'm the
both.
dad, yes, but we have, to my partner, my wife, Suzanne, is now a mother, and we have young baby Hazel. So we have a little girl. Where Hazel? Wow. It is absolutely
whirlwind. Last couple of weeks.
I mean, we didn't, listen. Anybody that's had a child has been lucky enough, blessed with that, then it is insane. It's pretty crazy. As you say, we weren't really like massively on the whole social media thing. I mean, it was a very interesting time, the build up, the pregnancy. Fell pregnant in January, I guess it works out, and that was a honeymoon baby, all this sort of fun stuff. And then we got hit by sort of COVID, and there was a lot of drama, a lot of things going on. And it's our first child, and I suppose we're a little bit, in a weird way, considering someone who like me who's on social media all the time, work-wise, not so much privately. It was just something we wanted to kind of keep. It's first thing you're nervous about a lot of things, and I don't know, sort of kept it to ourselves, and that's that, I suppose it's everyone's own decision to how they want to play things. And it was a special time, and we were very, very fortunate. Possibly the best thing about COVID was the luxury of lockdown in terms of Sue managed to get a lot of sleep. We managed to go walking, do real good, have a nice pregnancy. And Sue will agree with that in terms of the build-up anyway. Very fortunate to be able to get that rest, that downtime. So she was quite relaxed, as much as you can be, I think, when you're pregnant. Listen, the last, 2 weeks now, not so relaxed. It's been very different. Listen, we can go into all sorts of things. Sleep, learn how to do things. I think the thing I want to touch on today is often we start this podcast with gym fails. So I feel like this is not a baby special, but being relative to the first podcast back, I might as well tell you about possibly the biggest shock for me was... first or second day in, it must have been. I can't really remember. We were in hospital for 5 days, so it was quite a lot going on, and whatever day turned into another day, and whatever time was, you just don't know. And anyway, so let's talk baby poo. The first poo was pretty... Well, actually, the very, very first one, not to get into detail too much, guys, it was quite a small little thing, and I thought I'd got away with it, because I half heard about this thing that happens on like the early days, meconium, I want to say. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it was basically an absolute epic monster tar type poo. So for those people who have never had a child or have never been in that situation, I'm just going to let you know about something you probably don't even want to hear about, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I called in, right, so there's me changing the nappy, and just as I've got to the top part where the umbilical cord is, which is a little bit odd anyway, right, there's this like black, and it's creeping out the top of the nappy, so I'm like, panic, boop, I've hit the button, I'm calling the midwife, I'm like, I think I've popped the umbilical cord or something, I think I've done something wrong, so I'm panicking, right? So midwife comes in, I'm like, look, I haven't gone any further, but I'm a little bit worried, baby's obviously crying, of course she is, and this black stuff, so she's like, right, undo the nappy further. I mean, being the completely disgusting human being that I am, I took a photo, because Sue, bless her, was in bed and couldn't really get up. I was like, she can't miss out on this. So I've taken a photo of my poor, beautiful baby daughter with this epic black poo everywhere. I mean, it took me, I reckon, 30 minutes to clear that stuff up. And, they kind of warn you about this, but it is... and the midwife come in and just laughed at me, and I was like, is it okay? She's like, yeah, this is normal, by the way. Good luck. And I genuinely thought she was going to help me. She didn't. I was like, oh, she's not going to leave me with this, surely. Then I kind of realised that's actually the rest of my life. There's no one else to sort of help you. You're there. Well, Sue, luckily, and I will take that on together. So, yeah, if you are expecting anytime soon, or even within the next however long, remember that you're going to be on your own with some pretty epic stool, shall we say, Meconium, the black
that's going to be
comes along.
One of those pictures of you, Hazel's wedding.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Dad, what are you doing? This is
my first picture of Hazel. Oh dear, but yeah, so with that. But listen, I do feel sorry for her because I'm a very open person, so. In terms of like, you know, I feel like there's things that people are quite reserved about talking about. Maybe they don't talk about, you know, poo and or whatever. I know, but listen, it was fun. It was brilliant. She's still, you know, the most beautiful thing in the world. And you know, there was, you know, even at 3 a.m. when we have our most active time, she's nocturnal. So that's plays an effect on your sleep, obviously, and you can see it sat. You might not be able to see it on the camera. I'm facing the camera now, but I've picked up a couple of extra accessories under my eyes. These dark bags, which are beautiful. You just kind of do your best and keep mucking through. But I've kind of, and this is what we're going to lead into. It's just you know, I've got certain values, standards, and things that I want to try and really try and retain as much as I can. And I know it's different now, and I know, you know, I've spoken to loads of people. Oh, yeah, listen, you realise what's really important now. It's almost downplaying that health and fitness is not important. And I'm like, well, yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm not going to just let everything slide. I might have to work a bit harder, and, you know, train a bit harder, or you know, maybe be smart about my training of certain things. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing all these things. It's like, oh, there's your dad pod coming now. You won't have time to go and train all the time or do this, and you know, it doesn't really matter about you. I'm like, yeah, I see what. Maybe it doesn't matter to you, but it kind of does to me. You know, there's kind of, you know, and I've always believed in when we got into this, you know, you and I both discussed for a lot of things when we very first started about, you know, and obviously one of our biggest things were our core values. What do we sort of want to be? What do we want to be perceived as potentially? And, you know, and seen as a business, you know, or what was our brand kind of thing. And one of the big things that I think, you know, before we even really knew each other, is the thing that stood out to me about you when you almost first come along to where we were at previously, is your work ethic and training. And it was like, right, you know, this, you know, it sounds really bad, and I'm not putting people down, but there's a lot of trainers out there who just don't really train or prioritize it or value it. There's a lot of people who really do, but you know, there was a different ethic coming from your work rate and stuff. And so then I kind of realized, you know, for me that sort of stands out to me, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but it kind of says to me something about your personality, and you know, it's a good personality to join business with, and that's proven its course. And you know, when I think, you know, and I'm not putting people down, but when you see certain people in certain ways and about how they do things and how they present themselves, you know, there's a lot of extra things that, you know, from my point of view, is I read a lot into those things. You know, the way you present yourself, you know, the way you show up on a daily basis, that it's not just a one-time thing, that each time, you know, you do this. You know, the person that sometimes very opposite to me, who I have huge respect for, will be the person that sits in the room quietly and listens and takes on a lot. And I'm like, that person doesn't mean that they've not got an input, and then they say something smart, and it's just like, right, there's you know, there's lots of different things that, you know, say a lot more from very little. So, you know, for me, this time is going to be challenging. We're actually starting a new program today, and I've even called out other trainers within our team to try and keep me accountable, right? Because if they're doing it, I've got to be doing it.
It's a selfish thing, isn't it? Really,
100%.
The more people you can get almost with you on that journey, the easier it'll be.
Hopefully, and people will say it's stupid to do certain things and try and test yourselves in different times, and I get that, I do get it, and as I say, there is times to train smart, and you know, when there's a huge lack of sleep, I'll only be able to do a certain amount. But if I'm doing something, there's a baseline. So almost a baseline standard that I will look to put out there. And we've talked about this with nutrition, with training, with things in the past, that there's like a minimum requirement almost I set myself. So if I was to say what's my minimum requirement in a day, it's going to have been done 30 minutes of activity, right? Now that could be walking, right? It could be even doing stuff in the garden. I'm talking about my minimum, right? the just getting and moving.
It's probably rarely a day that you just lay on the sofa all day and do nothing.
No, but there are days, but I still will have done 30 minutes walking. So that's my minimum thing. So it's kind of like, as long as I do that, that could be my worst of the days, sort of thing. But they're also required.
With this now, you can just pop Hazel in your pushchair and go off for a long walk.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I remember just chucking headphones on and going out for a few walks, and kind of become routine. Like I said, in lockdown, with Sue walking when she's pregnant, now it could become your thing that you just right, off for an hour.
Definitely, and almost it could be that I just see it as part of your routine, and it's a healthy lifestyle, and it's good for I'd like to think it'd be good for Hazel to get out, get fresh air, do those things. For me, hopefully Sue, if she joins me. If not, it's another opportunity for me to listen to a podcast or learn something, or just have some downtime. It might be something funny. That's the other thing, is you got to look at what things bring you joy, what makes you feel better. And if I then go and sit down and Hazel falls asleep and I mindlessly watch hours of TV because I can't really go anywhere or do anything, then that's it. That's what it is, right? And there's going to be a couple of things that are going to change. I'm not daft, there's going to be a lot of change. I've felt a lot of change already, but there's the minimum standards, and I do question: do people have these? Do people go right, or do people go right? I've got to be all or nothing. But if you've got like this minimum requirement, so for me, it's at least getting at least one lot of veggies a day, and that's the same for a lot of people. This doesn't sound like enough, but if I got one lot of veggies in a day, always drinking 2 litres minimum of water, walking or doing some form of movement for 30 minutes, right? Those 3 things are my ultimate minimum. Now, if I was to only do those for a long period of time, I'd feel terrible, right? I would never be as happy as what I am, but they're my minimums. Like, there's no less than that. If I haven't done those in a day, I'll actively go and do it. Like, I'll be the weirdo that goes out and walks at 9 o'clock at night just so I've got 30 minutes walking, or do something, because that's what I have to have as a minimum requirement. And I do believe if everybody had sort of minimum requirements of a day, then even if you went for a bad spell of 2, 3, 4 weeks, but you're still drinking a lot of water, which hopefully prevent you from eating a lot of other stuff. You're keeping hydrated, which your body needs, right? Getting some veggies in, not a great deal if it's only one portion a day, but it's better than 0 and can easily happen. And getting 30 minutes of movement. It just keeps your body, in check for me. But obviously that's not what I would aspire to do, to be where I'd want to be at the standard I'd want to be. But that is a non-negotiable. Those 3 things, non-negotiable. There's no way I can't be doing those. If I don't hit those in a day, there's something that's, there's something pretty epic that's happened. And actually, in all fairness, when I was in hospital with Sue, that probably didn't happen. Maybe it did. I walked around a car park a couple of times with nerves. Yeah, maybe I did still do the water thing. I don't know about the veggie thing. Yeah, maybe one set of vegetables. So yeah, I probably wasn't far off, and that's even when I've got complete. I had no control, but subconsciously it's there. So what are your standards? Do you have a minimum standard thing? It's always nice to have like what's my optimum day? Optimum might be hitting a gym session, maybe going for a 30-minute walk on top of that, consuming 3 litres of water, getting veggies with every meal, getting protein with every meal, not drinking alcohol, not eating sweet. There's all these huge list of what would my most amazing day be, breathing, meditation, cold therapy, all the different things that I actually do quite often when I've got my routine down. And it sounds like quite a long list, but it's so easily done because it's, the first probably 10 of those things are done within the first hour, because that's how I set my day up. I'm almost in a bit of a battle, if I'm really honest now, with Sue and Sue's mum, bless her, because that extra hour of sleep that I might, do you have to get up that early? Could you not get up an hour later? And I'm like, yeah, I could do, right? I really could do. And the hard battle is that they don't see the value in the small things that I do in the morning, whereas I really do see the value in it. So people listening might be thinking it's very selfish to get up that hour earlier or half an hour earlier and, say, do the breathing, do the mindset, do the gratitude things, working on all the things that I've done, cold, hot showers, stuff in the morning. Even that was an argument. Can we not do the shower in the evening now? And I'm like, yeah, I can do, but it's part of my routine. It does set me up for the day. I can get in, I can perform, I can be better. It may even mean I can work my socks off till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And those evenings I haven't got coaching in, I can be back and be present. And, I'm then at your hand, but it just means I've got up an hour earlier because I'm on it. But if not, the rest of my day takes an effect. And it is, it's somewhat selfish, I guess, but it means I can be more productive. get a lot more out of it. And the overarching thing of that is that it hopefully supports the family and means I can be back home when I need to be back home, rather than, when you get those days where you're just sifting through and just something's getting done, something's not getting done, and you're like, oh, shit, where'd that hour go? And I've literally done nothing.
Yeah.
And then you almost beat yourself up about that, and then I'm not in a good mood, and then I come back and, Hazel's not eating. You can imagine it going. I haven't been in the situation, by the way, but I can imagine it not being great. So so it's interesting, right? Having those potential standards for yourself,
and then flows on from the morning, then, doesn't it? But it does, it definitely has an impact if you don't do the things you used to. And like I said, most people probably can't see it from your perspective, that how much of a head start that gives you versus not doing it and just rolling through and having a slow start to the morning and feeling unproductive and having that knock-on effect.
Well, this morning I've just come in, haven't I? And I've said to you, I've been thrown off. I mean, we're very, very fortunate that Sue's mother, so Hazel's nan, is staying with us for a little while. She came over from Ireland, and she's incredible, right? She's offered last night to basically take Hazel for the night, and that's it's like having a night off. It is crazy. I laugh about it because I'm like, it's fine, and then you do have a whole night's sleep. You're like, wow, I can feel the benefits. Like, sleep is, it's the biggest thing we talk about all the time, and so there's no point me downplaying that I don't need sleep and all this. Absolutely need sleep and feel 100 times better when I have it. But then I was sort of creeping around this morning because bless her, she slept with her and I'm trying to stay quiet, and so I couldn't get my morning, like I do my breathing, all that. None of that stuff happened this morning. I had to come to work and do it, but even like breakfast, I had to bring that cold to work instead of doing what I would normally do with cooking it in the morning, coffee making. There's no way I was putting that coffee machine on. There's all these little things. So the morning routine was shuffled and changed. But obviously the beauty is I had the sleep that I wouldn't have had, and so I was very lucky in that way. But once again, it was just like, I got here this morning, you come in, I was like, it's been a different morning. I'm a little bit like, it's a bit odd, right? But I'm okay, I'm here, still managed to do my things, and, I feel really good, and I do feel really good, and I'm very fortunate to have that sleep, which makes me giggle, because, 2 months ago, I was sort of a 8-hour minimum king, I was like the sleep king. That is a thing of the past, but... we love all these things, but right now as well, particularly as we say, the clocks have changed, right? Which, by the way, when you're sleep deprived, your main house clock, I hadn't changed before I went to bed. Then I had my phone. I was trying to work out when I'd actually fed Hazel and what was going on, and I was like, at one time, and I was like, does she need feeding again? Because there's this whole, listen, I'm not telling anyone else to be a parent because I haven't got a clue, but I'm trying to get some sort of routine. Like, she'll cry and obviously feed, but then there's also times when it's been 3 or 4 hours, and I'm like, does she need feeding again? So, being a new parent, I'm panicking about everything, and then I'm changing a nappy every now and again, and then it's like, not every now and again, but on this routine thing that I'm trying to do, and then I couldn't work out what time I was at. Then I was like, I'm going to be putting it backwards or forwards, and at 2 a.m. when you've not got a clue what's going on, you're Googling what way should the clock be. It's like, what a disaster. So it was like, when was she last fed? I was like, God knows. Probably 7 a.m.-ish, which could be 5 or 6 or 7. So yeah, if she starts crying, she probably needs food, I reckon. But yeah, so that was quite interesting. But it changes. Like last night, I was ready for bed at 6 o'clock. It was dark. We actually walked outside and actually went for a walk, stupidly, and went round to visit my brother. So we went and saw his new house and did things, and then as we walked back, it started hammering it down. I was actually sprinting with Hazel in the buggy, so I got my sprints in last night, running in proper dad boots. They're not even running boots, through the thing. I'm like, oh, should I be running this quick with her in this buggy? It's not like a running buggy. Am I doing the right thing? But he's chucking it down, and we're halfway time. So if I'd stopped to put the rain thing on, we were, it's only 5 minutes. I'm like, right, I'm running. Poor Sue and Anne-Marie are back there, just trundling along and getting absolutely chucked on. Me and Hazel are off. I'm like, keep up. Anyway, so we're off, and we get back, and but it was only 6:30. I could honestly have gone back to bed then. I was like, right, it's bedtime. Surely it's so dark, and that can really throw people's mindsets off. I think this is a hard thing. This is a hard time of the year. Does it really change you? The way that the clocks have gone back and the way it gets darker can really, really have huge effects. We know it does. There's studies. There's something called SAD, and it's basically when we're getting a lack of sunlight. It can, the darker evenings. Today
is actually, we're recording this, and it's
glorious.
Beautiful sunlight. It's chilly, but it's actually really nice.
And these are the times to take advantage of it, right?
Yeah.
These are when you need to get out. Not everyone can go out on a Monday morning or whatever, but it probably could do for. Even if they were to walk around an industrial estate like us, for 20 minutes before work, or because the sun's there, and you got to enjoy that, and that is, it is a blessing, it's a gift, and we take it for granted throughout the spring and summer. And I mean, this year's been incredible for the sun, but it does have it's tough. And in the evenings, naturally, you've seen the images now, going to work and coming back from work, it's dark. So what do? Well, there's a very few people that then go, right, I've got to go out and do my jog, which they might have done when the sun was out, or my walk, and go and do their exercise, or go back to the gym because they've got to get back out and go out in the rain, the dark, and it does become tough. There's no point denying that, and there's no point sitting here and going, oh yeah, but it doesn't affect me, I'm immune to that. Everyone is, everyone feels that, like last night, I got to 6-7 o'clock, I'd done a few bits, and I know we do a little bit on a Sunday evening work-wise, and then honestly, I could have that was it. I was useless. Like, I put on a new Netflix series. I say it was useless, it was pretty done anyway. And the three of us were just sat there, and Hazel was in the little Moses thing next to me, sleeping still. She didn't wake up till 8 p.m. And then we're just watching TV, and I reckon we watched 2.5 hours back-to-back TV. That's not ideal. I mean, it's not where I want to be, really, but it was kind of needed last night, I suppose. But it was very easy to get into that trap, and if that happens every night, well, that's not a great place to be. And what happens when we sit down and chill? Naturally, you're looking for food because you're bored. And if you don't do that, you find yourself snacking on things, or other people may reach for an alcoholic beverage. And there's lots of almost these knock-on effects, right? And it's almost these new triggers of it's warm winter, comfort food, snuggling up, getting under the blankets, watching TV. You see people saying like, I love autumn, it's got A, B, C, D and E, and all those things are like, I think it was like Celebrity Get Me Out of Here is one of those things now, in the UK, everyone's watching Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, it comes on, I don't know if that's going to happen in Australia now, but anyway, there's different like things like dance, Strictly Dancing, all these like TV things that people really look forward to coming into it, and it's like this whole world of autumn, winter, sit down, let's encourage you to stay in, because people, but actually, I did a post the other day, you go out now, this is something that, a lot of people will be keen to do anyway, spend money, go online, find a really good winter's coat, maybe some matching boots, Rob's looking at me like, what are you on about, mate? But get a nice winter's coat, good matching waterproof boots, and make it a thing that you're going to go out and do your walking, 30 minutes a day, make it your standard, that you do 30 minutes of walking. I don't care how cold, wet, rainy is, get wrapped up, go out there and do it. You'll probably feel pretty epic for doing it in the rain anyway. Have you ever done that? Like, you faced like a massive like winter's day, and you're like, I feel like a hero. Like,
mostly I've been forced to do it. Not say forced, but the elements didn't really matter, so it's kind of just like get on with it. But
I mean, that's a difference.
I've become softer as a civilian, so I can appreciate the.
Well, me being one of the softest civvies you'll ever come across, it makes you feel pretty epic when you go out in the rain. You don't have to, and you've not got someone like telling you have to, and the elements aren't the thing. Like, when they're a thing, and you've got the option to.
I used to choose to go. If it was raining, it was better to go out running and just But now, definitely prefer I think it's a lack of, say, over the last few years, a lack of sleep, prioritising things, and actually appreciating the downtime.
Yeah.
It obviously does differ, right? So if you're a young person with an active job, you've got no dependents as such. You might have a partner, but you've nothing to really have to look after other than yourself.
Yeah.
You've got a very different mindset to then having that thing to look after, or those real sort of well, they're not priorities. They rely on you, right? The kids that you have rely on you to look at, for them to be looked after for. Don't know how many years. When can you kick them out of the house?
I've got to be honest with you. I feel like it's a life thing. I know.
No, that's too early.
I know there's a lot of people who are still at home,
still hanging on at 25.
Oh, easy. That's easy.
So anyway, but until they leave home, basically, they're they're complete responsibility. So priorities, like you were saying earlier, do probably shift. But with that come the appreciation of the times when you can just have 2.5 hours and chill, because you don't necessarily know when they're gonna come around again. You can plan them in for sure, but people do get into that bad trap. But I think it's sort of like it does completely shift your mindset to a new way of thinking. Would I go out if I got into running? I probably wouldn't care about the weather, and I see people out there in all in their weather in their gear, and they're probably going for long runs. They've got little hydration packs and like belt kits and things. I'm like, they're on one. and it's absolutely hammering it down. I'm like, good effort.
Yeah.
They're probably like, I'm going to crack this. Feel like I've accomplished something really. The weather's not beating me. I've done my run, got in, back in, get warm and dry, whatever, and feel like I've really done something. Versus like looking out the window, going, I'll just wait till it gets a bit drier. That sort of mindset really does probably set them apart from being, their optimal day, I suppose, would be get out, do that run, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is when we come back to that as well, what you covered. You don't always have to be sort of optimal. There might have been a time when that person wanted to go out for a run. They're like, actually, I've got, I don't know, he might not be feeling 100%. They might have, something, a little cold or flu coming on or something like that, especially this year. They're like, I'll put that on the back burner. I will do it, but maybe not today, maybe not optimal, and maybe not even beat themselves up for not doing it. But it's kind of like, how you have your optimal standards, your minimum standards. Oh, we got a phone call.
My bad. I've hung up. I think.
That's Sue saying.
That's it. Yeah.
Come home. I need your
Hazel's kicking off.
Yeah.
She's crying.
But it's kind of your in between. But as long as you can be, just under optimal most of the time, like your absolute optimal day, then perfect. That's kind of what you kind of want to shoot for. And if that means getting out in all weathers, challenging yourself in certain things, but also then just maybe sometimes stepping down and appreciating some of the things that you need at that time with a busy schedule going on, then I think you need to obviously accept that.
That's it. Also, the thing I'm going to go into now is that it's this post-lockdown fog, and I feel like it's a real tough time. I think with this time of year, and I don't want I feel like you can. There's the things we talk about each year, habits you can do, things you can do to be more positive. To exercise is always going to be one of these things. I was having a conversation yesterday, and somebody, of course, they did brought up COVID, and they're like, "Oh yeah, apparently obesity is a really big factor in this." And I was like, "Tell me a health issue that obesity doesn't." Where there's not one. I don't think really, not many, where obesity is a positive impact, right, on anything, and being active isn't a positive, right, and all these different things. So, eating good foods, eating well, and that's hard to say because there's different levels of that. But if you're eating fruits and veggies and lean meats, and that's great. If you're doing even more so and more organic and grass-fed style food, even better, and if you're looking at in depth, but if classically you're eating what we call junk food or the fast food a majority of the time, a high majority, multiple ingredients in like a very basic food, not good, then it leads to unfortunately unhealthy lifestyle, unhealthy habits, you may not be overweight, but you don't necessarily mean you're necessarily in a healthy place. But then those people who are more than aware that they're overweight or obese and things like that, there's not any real benefits to any health issue. So they were like, oh yeah, but apparently obesity is a real big factor in COVID. I was like, it is in all of the,
like suppressed immune system from
in
bad
anything.
Foods and
so the art of looking at that is always important. So exercising, keeping active, trying to fuel your body in the right way, looking at more, better options and getting support and help in that. It's always been really important, and getting support from that is huge. But anyway, this sort of post-lockdown, this like, period where it's still not over, right? Unfortunately, we're still in this place where there's a lot of uncertainty and there's lots of talks of different things going on, and this whole this mist, this fog of like, where am I right now? In terms of, I don't know what's, people aren't booking holidays like they might be in the future. People don't know what's going to be going on at Christmas. It's a very, very tough, challenging time. And the thing I really, really becoming more and more aware of is that I want to try and, as much as we can, we've spoke about this together, is how we can try and help people's mental health. We're not qualified in what you'd say, to maybe go to that level, of people's support and mental health, and we obviously reach out for a professional for sure. But obviously we've spoke about this. If you ever need somebody to communicate with, talk to, especially within our group, if we know you, if we've met you, if you're within our community, we 100% want to be there for you, to reach out. And this post-lockdown fog can really stop you and put you in your tracks of doing anything. And you can find yourself, and I know this because people have spoken, so I just don't know where I'm going, and I find it very hard to get myself motivated to do anything, let alone exercise or eat well. I need to sort of know where I'm at, and because there's no sort of almost end to it, as they see it's very hard to start something, because to start something without a finish date is kind of a weird thing anyway, right? And we're like, right, well, let's set our own finish day. No matter what the deal is with everything else going on in the world, we do know that being active, trying to make small steps to being healthier, eating the right things, looking at hydration, looking at sleep, looking at the things you can control if you can, and trying to build in some good habits with that. I know it sounds really boring pushing this whole habit thing, but even it is just looking at the small steps we can take to move in the right direction and give it an end date, right? This is why so many programs like the 6-week such and such diet works, or the 8-week this diet, because you can see an end to it, and that's a nice thing. To be able to see light at the end of the tunnel is a very nice thing. It doesn't mean it has to finish there. It might mean that we start a second chapter, but if you opened up a book and it was just no chapters, and you're like, I don't know how many pages it's got, it's kind of like, do I want to start this thing? Right, I could be here forever.
Story.
Whereas if I've got 12 chapters and I know they're 12 pages long, for instance, I don't know, whatever, and I know there's an end to it, then I'll be more likely, and even better if it's a shorter story, for me, because I'm like, oh, wicked, I get to see the whole story.
These, so
I'll struggle with them. Actually, we were very, very kind. Alex, who works for us, his partner Kaz, and they bought us a fantastic book, and I've got to be honest, the first page was written in some like scrolly script writing. I was like, crikey, I'm gonna have to read this to Hazel, and I'm gonna be struggling myself here. But it's a beautiful book, like it's an incredible looking book, and but yeah, as you say, but it's these things of having this almost end to something, and unfortunately that uncertainty of when the end is and knowing what to do is almost stopping people from making that start. But the biggest thing is, right, you have got today. You that when you wake up and you're given that day, you've got that. I'm going to go into my little quote of the day in a second, but it's just being thankful for that and going, right, what can I do to get the most out of this? Yeah, it's not perfect. This moment in time is not perfect. I mean, you and I will sit here right now. If we were to talk business, is it perfect? No. Is it what we've planned for this year? 100% not. And I know so many small businesses who some unfortunately have not made it, which is devastating. It's heartbreaking, especially when we know people who've worked on them for like 7 years. And then there's also people who, you hear the conversation of, as long as you're keeping your head above water, and that's not what people are in. A lot of people who are driven in business for, and that's not what people are trying to do. And it's a scary time.
Trouble with like health though, if you look at it from that, like keeping your head above water with your health, well, there's only so much you can do, right? And then before it becomes too hard to get back. And if you're looking at how many people have you spoke to and who've said, oh yeah, I'm just going to worry about it in the new year, as if that 1st of January this time round is going to be even more special. What happens if, and I'm not going to put it down on it, but what happens if we're still in this and there's still uncertainty in January the 1st? Is that going to be put off till next year or the summer, or when are they going to do it, rather than just sort of starting now and going, well, and like you said, you got today, you may not have tomorrow, unfortunately, as morbid as it is. It's some people are in a situation where tomorrow may never come. But if you can do what you can do today and do it well, or at least to some degree of minimal level of your standards, say if it was just those minimum things that you want to do, brilliant. That's something, and that will probably start the ball rolling the better way versus snowball the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you leave it, as you say, unfortunately, if you're waiting for this big boom, the big bang of change, that's a thing we've gone through for years anyway. You have people going, oh, well, when this happens, I will do this, and when this, and we spoke about that, and how many times it never ever happens, unfortunately, because you never get to it, or you do get to it, and it doesn't really give you the whole what you believed was going to be.
Got to be in it for the long haul, really, haven't you? And just put the just be knowing the fact that it is going to be a long process. Enjoy the process, like I've said before, versus like the 6-week diet or something. There's that end result, there's that end date, and then you go, oh yeah, I'm going to be really excited when I get to that end result. What happens after that versus going in for the long haul and going, and that's why habits work so well, because we can just keep ticking along, doing them well most of the time. Doesn't matter if you slip up a bit, but then after, people have done it. They've done it for a year, and they look back and they're like Dave has had an incredible transformation, and he's been doing it year on year now, making these changes.
And he started, don't get me wrong, he started with that 30-day, right? Exactly, so he almost had that end date, which was giving him the focus on the drive. And he had obviously every bit of support around him. So he had 30 days in his head, but it wasn't like that's the end. It was like that's the beginning. I need to do this 30 days to give me the start that I really need. And because he's done things within 30 days and stuck to it, I mean, it's now 2 years down, like the guy's incredible.
What if he'd looked at where he's now 2 years ago probably wouldn't have started because he'd be like, I can never get to running with a 15k bag on my back. Do you know what I mean?
He just
carrying each kid in his arm, and he's like trekking. He's crazy, and he makes it a priority. We saw him in the gym the other week, and he said, he's done a 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. shift, whatever, and comes straight in and gets his
his words were, I really couldn't be like, but he's like one, and then he's strongly motivated, and he was like, but then I kicked myself out the backside basically in different words possibly. He's like, I need to get this done. There's no one else who's going to do it for me, and it's true. No one else is going to do it for you. No one can do this for you. There's a lot of things you can chuck money at and get a result for, but this, unfortunately, your health is something you're going to have to take responsibility for. So I just want to finish up with this, and I mean, listen, this probably doesn't make 100% sense. It's something I've come up with again. But if you're lucky enough for tomorrow to show up, then respect yourself enough to do the same. Be ready and make the most of every day as it's a gift, right? Show up, turn up to every day. Don't just let it go by the wayside. Don't just flit through life. Don't just, if you're lucky enough to get given that day and you're at a stage where you can do something and be active, or, work hard, set goals, be there for your family, be present, do whatever, it's a gift. It's a gift. Not everyone gets that opportunity. So show up, be there. I'm not saying you have to be a superhero. I'm not saying you have to be the world's strongest, fittest, whatever person, richest, whatever you see as successful in your eyes, But show up and be a very good version of you, because you've got that option. You've got a couple of options. You can be you can be a poor version of you can be an average person, you can be the very best you want to be, or can be. So, if you're lucky enough for tomorrow to turn up, then be there ready to turn up as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. Right, guys.
What we're going to check on quickly before, if you don't watch us on video, you might listen to us, but check out the videos of these podcasts, but also more of content we've filmed recently with Ollie, with some brilliant bits of content coming out for that. So check that on the YouTube channel, our Facebook page, obviously going to have those as well. Again, I say ask questions. If anyone's got any questions, you're listening, you want to know those burning fitness questions, chuck them at us.
Definitely.
We'll answer those.
We'll respond. Perfect. Guys, thank you very much for listening again. If you got this far, we do appreciate it. And best of luck. Take care. Peace.
Bye-bye.